For the past couple of years, the big question has always been, hey, are you using AI? But you know what? That whole conversation is shifting. The real question now is AI changing you? It's not just about getting new tools anymore. It's about completely rewiring your organization to get real bottom-line value. Okay, let's get into it.
And I mean, just look at the adoption numbers. They are absolutely exploding. Right now, a massive 78% of organizations are using AI in at least one part of their business. And to give you some perspective, just 1 year ago, that number was only 55%. So yeah, AI isn't some niche tech anymore. It's quickly becoming business as usual.
But here's the kicker, and this is really the whole point of our chat today. Just plugging in some AI tools isn't a magic wand for success, not even close. The companies that are seeing a real impact are the ones doing the hard work of rewiring. They're redesigning workflows, they're rethinking jobs, and they're changing the very fabric of how they operate. So if you're going to rewire an entire company, where do you even start? Well, turns out it starts right at the very top. Let's take a look at that first pillar, leadership, and how companies are structuring themselves for this new AI era.
This quote just nails the leadership challenge, doesn't it? It's so tempting for companies to just delegate AI to the IT department and say, you guys handle it. But as Alexander Sukarevsky from McKinsey points out, that's pretty much a recipe for failure. And why is that? Well, because getting real value from AI requires deep transformational change and serious resources. And those are decisions that can only come from the C-suite.
And you know what? The data totally backs this up. In companies that are really succeeding with AI, 28% of them say the CEO is personally in charge of AI governance. There is a straight line, a direct correlation between having that C-suite oversight and seeing a positive impact on the company's profits. When the boss is driving, things get done. Simple as that.
Okay, this is super interesting because it shows how companies are getting organized. They're not using a one-size-fits-all approach. For things like risk and data governance, where you need total consistency, they're using a centralized hub model. You can see that 57% do this for risk. But for something like tech talent, a hybrid spoke model is way more popular, which lets them embed that specialized talent right into the different business units where the work is actually happening. Okay, so leadership is locked in. Now what? Let's move to the second pillar and see how this all builds out. What's the actual blueprint for creating value? What are the high-performing companies doing that everybody else isn't? This really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? With so many companies jumping on the AI train, what's the secret sauce? What separates the leaders who are generating real returns from everyone else who's just kind of playing around with it? Well, the research shows a really clear pattern. The top performers crush it at these four things. They track their KPIs, they have a clear roadmap, and their senior leaders are all in. But look at that last one, fundamentally redesigning workflows. I mean, out of 25 different things they looked at, this had the biggest impact on a company's bottom line. It's the very definition of that rewiring we've been talking about. And you can really see a divide opening up here. Larger companies, the ones with over $500 million in revenue, are more than twice as likely to actually do this stuff. For instance, 52% of them have a dedicated team driving AI adoption, but for smaller companies, that number's only 24%. The big players are putting their money where their mouth is. But let's be real for a second. Even though we know what works, the huge majority of companies are still in the very early stages. Less than a third of all organizations are actually doing most of these things that we know drive value. Now, that's not a criticism. It's just a huge opportunity for anyone willing to really commit. And this brings us to what might be the most critical piece of the entire puzzle, the people. The third pillar of this whole AI transformation is the massive impact it's having on the workforce, how we reskill, how we redeploy, and how we redefine what it even means to have a job. So here's something you might not expect. While hiring for AI talent is definitely still a challenge, it's actually getting easier. Take a look at AI data scientists. Back in 2022, about 70% of companies said it was hard to hire them. Fast forward to 2024, and that number's dropped to around 50%. This could mean a few things. Maybe more people are skilling up on their own, or maybe all that corporate training is finally starting to pay off. And the impact on jobs is way more nuanced than you might think. It's not the simple robots are taking all the jobs story. The data shows we can expect headcount to go down in areas like service operations and supply chain, but at the very same time, we're expecting an increase in strategic roles like IT, product development, and software engineering. See, it's not about subtraction. It's about reallocating our best talent to higher value work. So how are companies getting ready for this big shift? This chart shows what happened in just the last year.
Reskilling is definitely happening, but for a lot of companies, it's still pretty small scale. A whopping 44% have only retrained up to 5% of their people. It's a start, for sure, but it's just a start.
Now, look at this. This is the forecast for the next 3 years. The change is dramatic. That group doing small-scale retraining, it plummets from 44% all the way down to just 13%. And the group that's reskilling over 20% of their workforce, it more than doubles, jumping up to 52%. This signals a massive, and I mean massive, acceleration in getting people ready. The race to reskill is officially on.
So after all of this change, this rewiring, this huge investment in people and new processes, it all leads to the ultimate question. Is it actually worth it? Is it paying off? Let's look at that final pillar, the bottom line impact.
And the short answer is yes. The value is absolutely starting to materialize. In the first half of 2024, only a minority of business functions were actually reporting cost savings from generative AI. But just 6 months later, that completely flipped. Now, a majority of departments, from supply chain to HR, are seeing real, tangible cost reductions. The ROI is becoming real. But, and this is a big but, let's not get ahead of ourselves. While individual departments are seeing these wins, translating that into company-wide profit is a whole other beast. Over 80% of organizations say they are not yet seeing a tangible impact on their overall company profits from AI. The pockets of value are there, but connecting them all is the next great challenge. And this final quote from Alex Singler really brings us full circle. It perfectly sums up this whole journey. You can't build a lasting advantage with little piecemeal projects. It comes from having a bold, enterprise-level vision. It comes from thinking in terms of wholesale, transformative change. It comes from truly and deeply rewiring your business. So the final thought I'm going to leave you with is this. It's really not enough anymore to just ask if your company is using AI. The much more important question, the one that's going to decide the winners and losers of this next era, is this one. Is your company being fundamentally rewired for success?